based on the people, the exact people. We don't want you to deviate completely around the community. We're creating a community that we want you to keep, but you may have some additional insights, right? The person or group who uses it is currently they struggle because in a perfect world they'd be able to. This would be awesome because rewrite this to your specific persona that you guys decide, and then be prepared to share that right on Saturday.
And if I may, as Martin was talking about, blue sky can be difficult, but maybe reframing the 2-minute readout might help you figure out maybe a more of a focus rather than just blue sky. Okay.
100%, Martin, that's right. I mean, put in your own design. Design constraint we know is cost. We want you to think about that, right? And narrow who you want to solve for, find up with it, and then find out as much about them to give you direction, so it's not just everything under the sun. The only people who solve for everybody, where everybody's their customer, is the U.S. Post Office, and it loses millions of dollars a year, right? So we want to focus in on the persona that you think the Bandito brand would be a good fit for, right? But again, I want to see the research. If we ask you questions, like if I ask you a direct question, I want you to be able to back up your answer. And so would executives in a company. Does that make sense? If you went out, did some research, and you came back and say, well, here's our recommendations, your CTO, CIO, CEO would ask you, cool, where'd you get that info? How did you come to that conclusion? Not just, it's what I think, right? We want you to do your research.
Awesome.
Back to you, Bill.
So again, we've jumped back to the sort of like the initial jumping off point, building an online community, an opportunity to meet like-minded people, to build trust and establish presence for opportunities for the Bandito Studios. Very broad, again, to help you push those ideas out there. And the 2-minute readouts, I'm not going to reread this, but again, you have this deck in the files in Canvas that you can refer to and, tweak and try to figure out that more of a stronger focus for your personas. So your first homework, you guys need to pick a leader for your groups. We did say that the last grouping was their groups, correct, Jay? Oh, sorry, you're on mute. So you're on mute.
I'm on mute. Kind of
Sorry.
hard to talk, even with my big voice on mute. Yeah, we're going to let the Zoom gods kind of decide who your groups are. Bill's going to tell you here in a second who your groups are going to be. But it's the first thing you're going to do is name your group. Make sure to pick a leader out of whoever the Zoom gods decide. Do your hopes and fears mural board. Start identifying those personas for the Bandito Studio brand. Use Chat GPT, use AI, use whatever tools you want. I do want you, though, to, if you use those things, make sure that you are documenting it. Does that make sense? Make sure to document what you do. Not only is it going to be good for us, but it's also good for your portfolio, right? To show what you did as you were going through. And it's a lot easier to document and keep these artifacts as you're doing them, as opposed to trying to go back later to think about it. Does that make sense, y'all? And then start identifying all the things that we've talked about here. But again, this should be
Chat
fun.
GPT to fill that out. Start identifying. So yeah, so we do have persona templates in the files folder, and so you'll want to start. That's what I should have put in there, is start roughing those out and do more than one persona. Again, I think as Rick so eloquently or visually demonstrated with those people who tattooed his brand on their bodies, and on significant portions of some of their bodies, it's like, yes, there's an extreme user as well as a regular user. And again, Rick being an expert in branding can be another reason why people will be drawn to his brand, his Bandito Studio presence. And so again, look for a range of personas. We are not
Also
having.
some reasons, right? Rick, is how many generation is your family, Rick, from Mexico?
I don't
Do you
understand
know?
the question.
Like a lot of your folks were born here in the US, or they,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So how many go back, do you know?
That would be one of my grandfathers was born in Mexico, and then of course my great great grandparents back and forth. My family's lived in the same Texas town since the late 1800s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
So that's a particular segment that you may want to consider. I'm not saying you have to
Absolutely.
consider
No,
that,
absolutely.
but that may be a route to his brand. There's that
Yeah.
the Day of the Dead has a
Mhm.
definite, Latino kind of bent to it. That's something you need to think about, right?
Absolutely. Once I decided to just go ahead and embrace the whole "Are you related to Pancho Villa?" And again, I always loved the Day of the Dead arts. Once I embraced that, then that was my direction. That was absolutely my direction.
Yeah.
So just a reminder really fast, guys, we do not have class next Wednesday. We have an online all day class
Mhm.
on May 11th. So just reminding you guys, we are not going to be in class next week.
So for that, here are some things. We're going to have virtual boards. Um, make sure you get plenty of sleep the night before, because doing an all day workshop online is going to be mentally tiring. We're going to give you breaks in between them for you guys to work together. We're going to run it completely differently than we've ever done any other workshop before. We're going to want feedback at the end of it, what worked, what didn't work. Right? Bill and I are going to change it up for you guys. We know being online for a full day is tough. Make sure you get your favorite snacks, whether it's oranges or apples or nuts or the Snickers bar, whatever you need to make sure to stay engaged that day is going to be really important. Make sure you get to know your team members, right? As much as possible before you get there, because there's this shorthand that happens after you work with people. So just don't do everything independently. Try to schedule at least a couple sessions if you can with your team to get together and know each other as much as possible before you get to the day of the workshop, okay? So that's another thing that I'll just leave up to the team leaders to figure out, because going into a full day not really knowing each other is you're not going to be as effective as a team as if you've spent a little time getting to know each other. Okay.
Awesome. That's homework 1. This is homework 2. So we're asking you guys to research building an online community. Jay came up with some great questions like, why do people join communities? What makes them stay? What makes them leave? What are the top 10 ways to build and maintain a community? Why did I say 10 and not 3? Well, that's because we want you guys to do a lot of freaking research. And if you're doing this individually, when you come together to start ideating and discussing, and again, like Jay said earlier, document where you're getting your articles and your research. So again, that can be in the appendix of your presentation. We want to make sure that all this stuff is there, the documentation. But again, we want you to have a really robust discussion with after having all this research so that you guys can really dig deep into this project. And again, try to get together before that class maybe even 2-3 times, so that you have, what research you all have found, and you can really start saying, oh yeah, I want to go back and look at that because Stephanie found something really cool, you know? So with that, we are at the end of the presentation. We are now in Q&A mode. I'm going to stop sharing.
All right.
And
So here's my ask for you. Everyone in this room should have at least 1 or 2 questions for Rick. So what questions do you have for Rick regarding what you need to do?
I've got a question.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Rick.
Hey.
So you've been successful. It's made lots of money. Everything's looking good for the future. You're on the beach with your family. You put your phone out. What's the community doing that day?
Buying.
Buying?
That's the simple answer.
So
What are they doing? They're engaging with each other. Listen, none of the brands I worked on that are on that page, I mean, and there's more. I've worked on a lot of different brands. What I've always felt made them successful wasn't always me and my team or the team I was on, because I wasn't always in charge of the team. It was the love people had for those characters or for the universes that they were a part of. This is true of pretty much of anything. You know, one of the slides in there was talking, and then this is true of marketing. You know, I was laughing and you know, all at the debate between marketing and design, because it is true that there are times when it is just how can we sell more products, and there are times where it's what type of products is it that our customers want. And this is kind of this is where I draw myself. Like I said, I joke because I do want the products to sell, obviously, but at the same time, what do I want to sell? I can do comic books all day long, but again, happy accident, I didn't realize Bandito, the character, was going to become popular. So when I talk about a community, I understand that it may not be one community, it may be several communities. Those that loved Sonic the Hedgehog weren't always going after Vampire Hunter D or Evangelion or any of the other properties that were more mature that I worked on. You know, just because somebody liked Fraggle Rock didn't mean they were going to watch Farscape. So I understand that when we're building these communities, we could be talking about different, vastly different people. And
So
sorry to ramble.
I'll riff on that, Martin.
Yeah.
And I would say, when I think of communities, you can have a community around a particular brand, like Pokemon, right? And the profit thing was the cards, right? But they identified with the game, right? And they had an identity that resonated with them as Pokemon players. D&D, same thing, right? There are people that it's not just one character or one thing. It was being a D&D player. It was, you know, there's something about being part of something that when you run into somebody and say, oh yeah, I play D&D. Oh, you play D&D? I play D&D, right? There's a connection point that happens when you're part of a community, right? Swifties are communities, right? They were all the people that bought Taylor Swift's album, and when they found out, oh my gosh, she has more songs, they were like freaking out. Like my wife, right? Who was listening to, my wife is a Swiftie, totally a Swiftie. And she was freaking out playing her songs the whole next day and giving me trivia about the songs and her ex-boyfriends and all sorts of other crazy stuff that Taylor Swift has. So think of all those communities. Think of the different types of communities. Football players, and I'm talking English football, they are a community, right? They're a literal community sometimes, right? They live in this town, right? The who's the football team that oh gosh, the Hollywood guys bought
Wrexham.
Wrexham. Yeah, that's a community, right? And there's and now it's a problem because my wife was saying those folks, they're being told, oh, you've gone Hollywood. You know, you're not a real English, you know, thing because you've now gone Hollywood. And they're like, yeah, we're on the other side, but we are, and we're benefiting from, you know, tourism, and people are coming to the bar, and you know, people are getting autographs from the bartender because they've seen him on the TV show, right? So a community is a place where people can come. It's almost like the old Cheers song. It's a place where you go where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came, right? That's it's a place where you're really part of a community. You're welcomed. You're you know, with open arms. They want to see you again. Yes, there's something in there that helps the community stay vibrant by having some sort of mechanism for profit. Um, but it's being part of it, right? That is the deal. I mean, D&D, you buy lots of dice, you buy modules, you buy those things, you're part of a community, right? Games, different card games and other things. Yes, there's a profit thing, but you identify with other people who believe what you believe, who want the same things you want. And those products allow the community to be vibrant, to get together, to have a common thing that they're around. So those are the type of things that you want to be thinking about, and think about all the different types of communities. If you're a Latino and you don't feel like people respect your culture, this might be something that attracts you to that community, is say, hey, this is a place where I feel I can go to become a good story. I feel as Latino, I have stories that I want to say. Maybe you just like Day of the Dead stuff, right? You saw the Book of Life and you said, that's really cool art. Wow, there's a community around this style of art, right? So it really is. I want you to explore the spectrum and then get together as a team, make some decisions and say, yeah, after looking at all these things, these are some of the personas we want to kind of move forward with. Where could we take this? I mean, my hope is all three teams come back with very different ideas. And I can't wait to see what you come up with, right? Again, how cool. This is the best class we've ever done because it really is challenging you as a creative. You're going to have a case study on your portfolio unlike anybody else's, right? Because it's so blue sky, but you get to make the decisions and validate, and it's just a really cool thing. They're going to look at the, man, you show the Bandito logo, they're going to click on that case study on your portfolio. They just are. You know it, right? Now that they've clicked, what are you going to show them? Are you going to show them you understand design thinking? Are you going to show them that you understand the challenge? Are you going to show them that you took it head on and came up with some really cool stuff? And they're going to go, this is the kind of person I want in my company, because I can see they took a really difficult challenge and came up with some really cool ideas. And that's the kind of thing you want in a portfolio that's going to separate you from other candidates that have the yoga app, that have the dog sitting app, that have the, you know, the app that we've seen again and again and again, even in this class, right? Where people come up with those same ideas again and again. We try to steer y'all away from those for your final things now, but get it? This is not a common response case study. Make the most of this opportunity. I mean, I'm really putting on the pressure, but you're not going to get an opportunity like this again.
And you do not have to choose the entire organization. Choose a piece of it if you want to. I'm going to leave this completely, you know, Bill, Jay, and I've talked about this. If somebody just said, I just want to focus on or I just want to focus on appeal.
Hey,
To us with those
Rick,
ideas.
you cut out there for a second. So can you repeat what you said?
Yeah, I was just saying you don't have to choose the entire organization. You can focus in on one piece. If it's just comics, it's comics. If it's merchandise, it's merchandise. Or you can choose the whole thing. It's up to you. I mean, literally, we want to leave that all up to you. And Martin, I want to bring this back to you. Did I answer your question? Because I'm a rambler from way back. So I don't know if I actually answered you or not.
Yeah, it was kind of an open-ended question. So
Okay, sir. I just want to make sure. Anybody else? Please ask away.
Yeah, the
Just-
first challenge was, I said, to come up with questions. So I'm going to start picking on people. Stephanie, go.
Perfect, because I literally was gonna ask a question right now. Oh, thank you. Do you perhaps, Rick, have any like social media platforms right now? Just to kind of help me see who is connecting on your platforms, or perhaps who that artist is, or
On Facebook, yes, you can find Bandito Studios on Facebook. And that is where I literally stopped.
gotcha. Okay. And could I get the other artists? I'm pretty sure, like the one that did, like,
He's in the deck and
Oh,
just
David? Yeah,
David?
he's in the deck.
okay,
and so
but,
that deck is in files.
yeah.
And so you guys have access to everything that you saw today.
okay, perfect. So I will be stalking your.
Please. And I put my LinkedIn, I put a link to my LinkedIn profile in the message to everybody. So please link in with me. That way, if you have questions, and I'll also put my email address in here so that if you have questions, you can ask me.
And just so you know, Rick, they can, because you're part of the class, they can actually connect to you through Canvas and send you an email. I'm gonna
Okay.
put it to Everett. Everett, please ask your question.
What convention did the artist, or what, I guess what conventions does the artist go to where they get to, I guess, I don't know, I've been to a lot of conventions, but they all have like different themes. And so like
Always.
I don't like what are the kinds of people who go, and like, is it like a comic convention? Is it like an anime? Is it a tattoo convention?
For David's art?
Mm-hmm.
It was specifically so David would go to maybe like a not just a Latin convention, you know, like there's a Latino Comic-Con going on this summer, okay? So, but he goes out to like any type of art show, any type of let's say, you know, like a city is having an art show, like San Diego, San Francisco, different places are having different art shows. He'll just go set up a booth.
Okay.
And I know as part of my research last summer, you know, the conventions I was used to going to were anime conventions, comic book conventions. And so I started researching just based on what David was attending. I started getting an entire list of all the Latin-based conventions that were out there. And because it's not just, again, it's not just comics, it's lifestyle.
Okay.
So I'm looking at lifestyle type conventions. You mentioned tattoo. Okay, so let's go see what that is. Let's go see any place that this type of art would be sold at. So I just started researching it as much as I could, anything, and looking at the different directions.
Okay.
Is that as clear? Is that as clear as mud?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I had a little bit of like an idea already as like a persona, as like a type of persona. There is I think the artist community online, they don't really have a good place to post art. I see on Reddit a lot, like in the subreddit, people are like, where should I post my art? Because there's not really a good website. Not like back in my day, I'm not that old, but in like the early 2000s and like 2010s, like DeviantArt was like the place where you would post like stuff.
Absolutely.
And now
I
it's
used to go
like
search for artists there all the time.
yeah, it's like tumbleweeds now, and it's all like
it's sad.
AI art, and it's like it's just no one's there anymore. And you know, Instagram doesn't really help you get an audience, and Tumblr people don't really use that much anymore. So it's like I don't know if that's too much of a niche, like a group to I don't know, appeal to. That was my first thought was, I guess like to make a persona out of. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of maybe get
Oh,
some
keep
thoughts on
exploring. Keep
that.
exploring.
Uh-huh.
Because there was a time, especially when I worked in the comic industry, where one of our editor would send us links from DeviantArt.
Mhm.
Like, hey, I came across these 3 different artists, and I think we should reach out and ask for samples. And we had a team, a group of people that would look at greenlighting comics, and we were constantly getting DeviantArt links. And it's sad that that's not around anymore. And I know Jay probably spent way more time there than I ever did, but I was one of the ones I was going to bring up as far as, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been on there. So you're telling me it's we're dead.
It is tumbleweeds. I think I used to be on DeviantArt like every day whenever I was younger, like posting like really bad art like for my tablet and everything. And I think most of the old users that used to be on it, they hate it. Like it's just it sucks now.
That's too
And,
bad. That's too bad. Now, I will say, so many years ago, I worked in the concert business, right? So I would get hired to promote concerts. Well, one of the reasons, me and my team were hired is they would come to us and say, we need to promote this artist and we don't know where to go. How do I promote said concert? All right. One of them was literally, it was just a gentleman that was coming through town playing classical music, but they had to promote the show. They had no ticket sales going on that were notable. And so they said, how on earth do we promote a classical concert? And I said, you got to hit the public libraries. And they were like, never even thought about that. And I said, public libraries, you need to hit every music school there is that teaches piano. You need to give out, free tickets on NPR. You like literally, and I helped them develop, which we now call personas. Then they weren't personas. So it was just having to do what you guys are already doing, which is thinking, what do my users need? If my users walking into a place, where can I promote that they could see this? Who are these people? And help define those people. So I think I hope that that's going to help you in doing what you're doing.
So let me ask you a question. Not that I'm solutioning, but I'm exploring. How many of you have an idea that's kind of a cool idea that has stuck with you? Raise your hand. How many have an idea? How many of you have not moved on it? Like you don't even have drawings or sketches or other things that you should have and you don't yet.
Are you talking about like an idea in general or an idea about this?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like this product, this book,
Oh.
this character, this drawing, this painting, this
Oh, yeah.
song, whatever it is, you have something that has resided in your head for a while and you haven't moved on it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, right. What if there was a place where you could go and get information on how to bring that to life? What if there was a place that you could maybe make your own comic book or your own graphic novel? What if there was a place that you could use that as a stepping stone to see about getting it turned into a novel or a movie or a TV show? And that was the community of creators that you found that were serious about bringing their ideas to the world and making it something else. What if that was a place that you could go and you called it Bandito? Right? Bandito breaking the rules. I mean, I'm solutioning, right? But I've thought of this stuff. I'm throwing that out there because I want you to explore everything. I want you and your teams to have nothing off bounds and then start exploring and then making decisions, right? We obviously want the community to grow. We want it to be a place where a lot of people who have a need could go and stay. That's why some of the questions we're asking you is, why do people join communities? Why do they leave? What's involved in maintaining a communities? A lot of the communities, Facebook, LinkedIn, what is it, Yahoo? What was the one before where everybody, MySpace, right? Way back in the day, that people develop these pages, they're whatever, and then they leave. Why? Do the research. What are the communities that last? And then let's compare, right? What are the communities that last? What are the communities that die? What does it take to help develop a community that has legs, that is a place where people could go? What communities are there around brands, football teams, sports things like Adidas or Nike, or certain sports, right? Those unite people. Those are, Mavericks, right? Hockey, those are communities, right? Around a sport or a particular home location. What is it about? What makes a rabid fan, right? Dig a little bit into this. Get out of your comfort zone. Don't think of you as the user. Do your research, right? This is a great opportunity to find something that you're not familiar with, do some deep research on it, and play with it, right? And again, so open. Most projects we bring in, most companies, they have defined users and personas that we're thinking about already. We've never had this opportunity that's so wide open. And it's an opportunity for you, like I said, to differentiate yourself, but help Rick. He said, hey, I'm asking for your help, humbly asking for your help, because it's so much harder to do stuff for yourself, right? You guys know that. You have your idea. The reason your own idea hasn't moved forward is because it's hard to do the things that are most important to you. It's a lot easier. If I called up Martin and said, hey, dude, I got this thing for me that I need your help with, Martin would have a lot easier time helping me than he would helping himself. That's just a human thing about us. CJ, would you agree?
Absolutely. There's a ton of projects I just haven't ever gotten around to.
Right. And Rick struggles, even though he's an expert in this. It's so much harder when it's close to you, and it's so much harder when it has meaning to you. And he's really asking for your help. And this is so cool because it really is a win-win. By helping Rick, you're going to help yourself.
Hey, Rick, I've got another question.
Sure.
Have you got a written bio of the Bandito? Like his backstory, or what he likes, what he dislikes, that kind of stuff?
Yes and no. Yes, I've started one. No, I've never finished it, but I tell you what, I will try to finish one in the next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course. Of course. That's a great one.
I was gonna ask Rick, I know that the people who show the tattoos to the artist was one thing, but have they provided any feedback or any key words as to what made them fall in love with the Banditos? And
You know what?
made them
Please
what made
finish.
them get it tatted?
Okay. Let me reach out to David and ask David. And see, yeah, that's a great question. Let me find out from David.
Okay.
I want to know a little bit more than I just had a lot to drink that day, So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you very much.
Ming, do you
Anybody
have any
else?
questions for Rick?
No, I think just continuing what Sedna had said, I think it would be really helpful for the class as a whole to if possible, know about the audience that is currently really,
Mhm.
you know, like what types of people, like who are these people that are really drawn to this character?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that would be, I think, a helpful starting point for us.
No, no problem. Now, and again, it's not for us, it's not just the Bandito. Well,
Uh-huh.
pardon me. That's one piece of the puzzle. The other
Mhm.
piece is the focus on books. You know, that was I'm not trying to steer you in any one direction. I'm just saying
Mhm.
this whole thing started because I was looking for a home for the books. I needed a legal house over the books. The happy accident was the fact that everybody liked my version of you know my mascot, my Chester Cheetah. You know, for those old enough to remember the band Iron Maiden, he is my Eddie. You know, he is, and there is concepts that have never been fully finished, but there's concepts where Bandito exists at different time periods. So I've got a Bandito, you know, that's like a Rat Pack Bandito, like 1950s, 1960s Vegas. I've got him as a 1920s gangster. I have him traveling through time, you know, in different things. I've got Samurai Bandito. So I have all different types of Banditos. So again, the one that everybody gravitates towards just happens to be the first one I created. When I say created, I mean envisioned. And then I go and cry to my artist and say, this is what's in my head. Let's try to get it out of here. And you can put it down on pencil and paper. So,
That's it, guys. With this, I may have to throw out there that I know that we're a little bit over in class. And so those of you who need to leave, you know, this is really just, it's great information from Rick. You guys are asking some great questions. And but if you gotta go, you gotta go. So we just want to make sure that's clear. And I did also want to say that the Zoom gods did pick your groups. So Everin, Laura, and Stephanie, y'all are one group. Jamie, Martin, and Ming, you're group two. And Alexis, CJ, and Sidna, you guys are group three, okay? So
So
with
on that,
Jay,
also on that, if you could put that in chat while I'm talking so they can see it in writing, that'd be great.
you got it.
There Rick does have a person that Rick and I have both worked with. Her name is Shannon. So she's going to be joining us for the Saturday class, and she's going to join one of your groups, right? Is there any group in particular that would like to raise their hand that we can assign Shannon to? You don't know her, so it's an unknown quantity. So that's either a good thing or a bad thing. Anybody want to raise their hand? Okay. All right. So it was Martin or Efren. I always slaughter your name. I am so sorry. I don't know why I do that.
That's okay. Yeah, more the merrier. It's
Okay.
whatever y'all want to do.
Perfect. I will tell you, I've been working with Shannon for probably 3 or 4 months. Super overachiever. So hard worker. She is a full-time teacher. She's wanting to get into UX, and she's been working with Rick and I a little bit. So she's going to be supporting Bandito on this by helping take some notes. But we want to include her in one of the teams so we could embed her on one of the teams there. So thank you for that offer. And then what else? And we know we want to be respectful and mindful of y'all's team. We know we have gone over. We're kind of in that after hours kind of vibe right now. What else do you need from us before you walk away? We want to make sure before we close class that if you have any questions or any of those burning things that you need to know, now's a good time. If you think of something later, please reach out to Bill. Do not reach out to me because I'm horrible about emails. You guys know that about me. No, don't reach out to me. You can reach out on LinkedIn if you want. For those of you that haven't LinkedIn, reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's the best chance of actually getting my attention is sending me a LinkedIn message, and say, hey, but Rick is really going to be the person that you're going to want to talk to for some of these specific things regarding Bandito. Bill can help you with some of the class stuff and make sure that if there's any issues with Canvas or any other kind of design thinking questions on that. If Rick or Bill can't give you the information you want, feel free to reach out to me, but just know I'm doing like 20-hour days lately. So from about 7:30 in the morning till about 2 in the morning, I've been going for about the past 30 or 40 days. Yeah, Martin.
I'm older than you. Don't do that.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I know, dude. Everybody's saying, yeah, when I kick the bucket, nobody's gonna go, oh, I didn't see it coming. Right? People are gonna be like, yeah, I can't believe he lasted as long as he did. That was pretty, so but
So-
I've got cool stuff going on. Go ahead, Bill.
So Jamie asked if you guys could split into your groups and exchange contact info. Jamie, I can leave Zoom going. Just remember, you guys in Canvas, you have access to everyone's name and you can send emails back and forth to start that process.
So yeah, why don't we do that really quickly? Why don't we send it? Do you have their group set up so they could send in and just do a real quick touch base before they officially leave classes? Would that be useful to y'all
Yes, I
to
do.
just meet with your team a little bit and figure out what you want to do next?
Is that cool?
Okay. Anybody have anything for me, Bill, or Rick before you go into your own little pods and figure out what next steps are?
And remember, we get great questions after the class, whatever, I will send it out to everybody through Canvas. Okay. So with that, thank you all so much for a great class and your enthusiasm. Loving this. And I'm going to open those rooms and let you guys get a chance to see each other before you all sign off tonight. Okay. Thank you all again.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you,
much.
students. Thank you.
Jamie, I'll pick on you more later. Probably missed that, but
Okay.
All right, guys, we good?
I'm going to stop recording.